Good morning, everybody. We are back with our friend Bill.
Hey, everybody.
We've now covered 2 of his cars, and this is the 3rd. And if you out there, if I've driven your car, but you have another one that's cool and I haven't done it before, by all means, hit me back up. And I have no problem with multiple cars from the same owner. So, thank you again, Bill. This is your Porsche 997 Carrera 4S. Tell me about it.
Yes, this is an 06, a 2006. It's a 3.8 liter. Made 355 stock, but I do have an air intake on here with a plenum and some other mods, so it's making about 375, 380.
Okay.
All-wheel drive. Things that I've done to this car, actually mostly exterior. I love the Sport Classic.
The ducktail.
So I got the ducktail and the Sport Classic front bumper, the side skirts, so it looks exactly like the Sport Classic. And I just love this car. It's all-wheel drive, and in 911s, having that all-wheel drive, having that little extra weight over the front gives it a little better balance.
Okay.
You feel it.
I have driven all-wheel drive Porsches before, mainly with turbos on them.
This is a screamer, so
is it? Okay.
Feel free to
same short shifter as your Cayman, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm taking advantage of this because I've never been able to do a back-to-back 911 Cayman test. So, all right. Well, certainly more power and torque than the Cayman, and the accompanying soundtrack sounds delicious. That's so funny. One corner. It takes one corner to realize the engine's in the back and not in the middle.
It does feel like a different animal, and like I was telling you earlier, it's a little more exciting. It's a little more exciting, a little more primal and visual.
It's a little more on the edge, even with the all-wheel drive. You know, the nose feels lighter. The steering, it feels a little bit less sure of itself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then you definitely can feel the weight of the engine at the back. You know, there's such a difference when you're doing back-to-back versus even a week apart or a couple days apart. You have to do fully back-to-back. Oh.
Yeah. I would say it's interesting. The first time I bought this car, because I came from mid-engine Porsches, those were my first cars I owned. And I remember taking my favorite road, and where the Cayman and Boxster are real chuckable and confident, the 911 keeps you awake a little more.
You still have to set it and then go through the corner. The newest 991s seem to defy physics, and like these are like just before they got there.
Yeah, these are still like the analog versions.
A little bit,
but it's still very confidence-inspiring, but you have to learn how to drive.
Yes, it is a different driving style. The exhaust have a valve in it? No. Holy hell!
Isn't that nice?
Wow, that sounds
good,
great.
huh?
Yeah, 7,000 RPM shifting there. And you know, just seemingly effortless power out of the engine. You know, it's just because there's no vibrations. It doesn't feel like the car is ever really stressed.
Yeah, in this car we currently have sport suspension activated, so it's a little tighter.
Then this has PASM, right?
PASM, right. And so it's kind of nice. You can come out here in the canyon, stiffen up the suspension, and then go home on the freeway and make it nice and soft again. So.
And you've also done your thicker wrap on this wheel too.
Yes, you noticed. Yeah.
I got to get your guy's number for that because I really like it. Yeah, it's great. But so these cars, what's really interesting about these cars is an 06, maybe not with the all-wheel drive and certainly not with your modifications, but you can get an 06 Carrera S with miles on it for disturbingly little money.
Yeah, probably mid-30s
I've seen them in the
40s.
30s and 40s, and this is like an insane amount of car.
Actually, when I bought this car, I drove out to Vegas to buy it, and it had, that sounds good.
Magnificent.
And it had 6,000 miles on it when I bought it.
This car?
Yeah. And I found an owner who just hit hard
60
times.
now.
Yeah, so I've had this car 6 years now. And
I mean, it's a great little car. You know, I don't think I'm getting into it enough on this public road where the all-wheel drive is really making a difference. I'm not breaking the tires loose, but
yeah, the most thing you'll notice if you drove a 2S versus 4S is the steering actually feels a little heavier in the 4S because you've got those.
Because you've got the front wheels driving.
You got a little more weight over the front, so on sharp turns it handles better.
Dude, who made that exhaust?
Actually, it's an intake.
Really?
That's the intake sound.
That's an intake and not an exhaust?
It's a cold air intake kit.
Wow.
Because Porsche puts their stock intake has sort of like this valve on it to quiet the engine. And this, you're getting more of the
So that's
the raw
full
sound.
crank all the time. Yeah.
You got it. I've also, as far as the tires on here, I got 245, 35 in the front, and 325s on the rear.
911 is one of the few cars where a big stagger is actually the way to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
For those of you unsure about how to size your tires and staggering, it really has to do with where the weight distribution of the car is.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of cars can get away with skinny tires up front and fatty tires in the back. They're usually mid-engine cars, the exception, of course, being the Corvettes. But that's mainly a grip thing. Listen to that.
There you go.
Wow.
It's nice.
It's beautiful. And again, like the Cayman, I mean, it does require a slightly different style, I agree. It does require, you know, the Cayman is, you get in it, and right now, you are going, you know, as fast as your brain will allow you to go.
The Cayman is a confidence king.
Yeah, this one, it's got, I got this guy coming here. This one has a little bit more of a learning curve.
Yes.
But it's still very easy. I mean, it's still, you can get in this car and be pretty confident.
Well, it's such a different beast to everything else. The front, because all the weight's in the back, the front is so light, you just have to learn how to balance that lightness, you know? But it really makes for a very unique experience compared to other cars that you'll be driving.
You know, well, this car must have been, what, 125 grand new? 100,
Brand new, yeah.
125.
120, yeah.
I mean, you can buy one that isn't a piece of crap for 25% of what it went for.
Yeah.
For no real reason other than they made a lot of them. There's a ton of them around.
Yeah, the 997 was a huge seller. In fact, you know, my Boxer gets to that 996 era, right? The interior and all that. But when I saw the 997, that was the first time I said, I have to have that car.
Yeah.
It's like the interior was right, the body was good, it was a great size, it just looked really great.
Right, and you can fit two people, and it's not too small, it's easy, you know. The 991s are wonderful cars, but they're actually a little big.
Yeah.
They're a little big, you know. You don't really feel it so much on the road, but when I parked that press car in my garage, I go, why is it so big?
Yeah,
Jesus, the sound of this car is very special.
it's intoxicating. I find myself revving just so I can hear that sound.
Yeah, you upshift just to downshift.
Exactly.
I know that move. That's my move.
My neighbors hate me for it, but you know.
And again, you know, it has the fluidity to it. You know, if your revs aren't exactly perfect when you match, it's got a bit of a forgiveness. Of course, the engine revs up and down so fast.
Yeah. And even though this has better torque than the Cayman, you still want to wind it out to feel the power.
This feels like it has better brakes than the Cayman too.
Oh, and this, okay, so the 4S comes with a preload feature on the brake controls.
Oh.
So the minute you get off the throttle, if it's a quick off,
it moves the pads
closer to the rotors.
Yeah.
And it makes for a real tight bite.
The Cayman S had a firmer pedal than this, but it seemed like once you got into it, they weren't quite as effective.
Right.
This one has a bit of a softer pedal on the edge, but when you get down into the brakes, it feels like it bites harder, yeah.
Well, you know, I tracked both cars, and it's interesting that I actually boiled the brake fluid in the Cayman at Auto Club Speedway.
Did you?
On that bank corner after about the third session, but I never had a problem with it in the 911s because, you know, they have the bigger rotors and they have bigger, you know.
Yeah, bigger hardware.
So they are set up better for braking.
Well, you know, truth be told, 80% of the great stuff about a 911 can be had with a Cayman.
Yes.
Right? Also, truth be told, 80% of the great things about an 09 Cayman can be had in an 06 911. Right?
Yes.
Would you more or less agree?
Yeah, I would even say I still love the 3.8s because they have, for around town, the torque is nice. It's nice to have that extra torque. But yeah, for sure. I mean, the DFI engines that Porsche makes now are awesome. You know, and they've eliminated some problems with the IMS issue. But you know what? If you drive the cars and you maintain them, it's really not an issue.
It's just a beautiful driving car.
Yeah.
I'd have a hard time, man. For 35 grand, what am I buying? An '06 Carrera S or an '09 Cayman S? I feel like I'd probably end up with the Carrera.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just feel like I would.
I love them both, and I've mentioned this to you before. It's like your children. You love them all the same, but for different reasons. But the 911, I have to say, is just a little more exciting. You know.
I'll give you that. I mean, that's just the kind of stuff that comes with a bigger engine and better brakes. I mean, you can go faster.
Right.
You know, if you put this engine and these brakes on the Cayman, I bet you'd have the greatest car ever.
That's true. And you know, it is true also that they sort of softened the Cayman so it wouldn't compete with the 911. Even with the GT4, you've heard about the tall gearing.
Yes, the tall gearing.
The tall gearing is the same in my '08. It's just a little tall, you know.
Well,
second gear goes up to 80, and in here it goes up to 65, 70. It's a big difference.
The corporate politics that result in us not being able to have a Cayman with a GT3 engine in it. You know what I mean? It's just, they're Legos. Just put the engine, the bolts are the same.
Yeah.
You know, I actually refer to that as the Cayman complex when referring to any car situation where the manufacturer says, no, it can't compete with our top
it's a
dog.
shame because the chassis of the Caymans are awesome.
Yeah, and I refer to that pretty regularly as the Cayman complex.
So what'd you think back to back?
Oh man, you know, it was such a treat to be able to do this back to back because the subtleties.
Yeah.
If we had stretched out the gap from 5 minutes to a week,
right,
I don't think I'd notice them. But because they're both right here, they're both so different. But like you can tell the engine's in the back, you can tell the engine's in the middle of the Cayman. I like the power of this. I like the chassis of the Cayman. I like the brakes of this. I like the suspension on that. And they're both really cool. And if you've got 35 grand to spend or 40 grand, I mean, either of these cars are just spectacular. Thanks for coming again,
Thank you so
Bill.
much, Matt. I
when
appreciate it.
When you buy your next new car, give me a call again, and we'll see you soon. And thank all of you for watching. See you later.
Guys.